Hi there guys, Mike from MCQBushcraft here, and welcome to episode 10 of Bushcraft Basics. In the last few episodes I should say, we've been having a look at water, and hopefully with those last 3 episodes you've got a very good idea on how you can handle water out in the field no matter what part of the world you're in. We've had a look at some containers, some pathogens and contaminants that are in the water and how they get there, and the kind of technologies that are readily available off of the shelf that can actually treat water through filtration and disinfection. And hopefully you should be armed with the knowledge now to be able to look at products subjectively if you do choose to take the route of using filtration systems out in the field, and also basic methods on actually treating water in a more simple form through filtration, through things like millbank bags, rags and boiling, which can really deal with most things out there. But in this week's episode, episode 10, we're really going to get into the realms of choosing, carrying and using a knife in the field. And in this episode I'm really just going to be looking at the laws in the UK, because that's where I live and they're the laws I know best. But if you are watching from abroad, it is a good idea just to have a look at the laws that govern knife carry and ownership in your part of the world. Unfortunately, laws are there mainly because things have gone wrong over a period of time and then they've been introduced. In my part of the world, knives don't really have the most rosiest outlook by the general public. They rarely feature in the media because somebody's used one to carve a beautiful carving with, or done something really fantastic or creative with, or used it as a proper tool like it is. They mainly feature in the media because somebody's been stabbed by one, and that's a great shame, and that's the reason why the laws are the way they are in this country now. And it's because of these kind of people who use them as weapons, for stabbings and such. There's dreadful knife crime that goes on in some of the cities in this country, and because of that, that's why we have to keep them concealed until we're off the beaten track, or use them in areas where we're actually legally allowed to do bushcraft because we have permission to do it there. But let's get into the nitty-gritty of the law, and we'll come back to all that later. So what are the knife laws in the UK? What can you legally carry on you day to day and you don't need an excuse to carry it? Well, the parameters for a knife like that, it must be a folder. It must fold with a slip joint, for example. Something like a Swiss Army knife has a slip joint and it will fold freely. It doesn't have a locking mechanism and it isn't a fixed blade, so it must fold freely, not lock or be of a knife of a fixed blade. It can have a blade length of a maximum of 3 inches. Less is obviously fine, and that is the legal parameters for an everyday carry knife in the UK. So effectively something like a Swiss Army knife, one of the smaller Opinels, a Lansky World Legal, or even one of the Spyderco knives that are a folder with a slip joint with a blade length of up to or less than 3 inches would be absolutely fine as an everyday carry knife that you could carry on you. There are certain parameters though where a knife like that can't be carried. It's not advised that you carry a knife like that in places like pubs, nightclubs or bars, football matches, or even schools and shopping centres, simply because the argument is that a knife like that isn't really required in those places, and there's a concern that they can be taken from you or used as weapons if people get drunk and things get out of hand. So there can be a few parameters in where a legal carry knife like that won't be allowed to be carried. Even in certain cities as well, they can have zero tolerance policies on knife carry. Certain parts of London and also parts of Manchester where knife crime is very, very high. Even carrying a legal carry everyday knife like that, which you may be entitled to carry, might be questioned if you're unlucky enough to get stopped by a policeman or policewoman who wanted to know why you had that on you, and it might be confiscated simply because the perceptions of those people in that environment compared to the people out in this environment are completely different. But to be able to buy any kind of knife, you have to be 18 years old. There are certain parts of Scotland, or Scotland in general, has a slightly different law where between ages 16 to 18 you can buy things like cutlery and kitchenware, although I'm pretty sure that depends on the retailer. But in actually the legality of carrying a knife, there is no age limit on knife carry. Legal knife carry. We're still in the realms of legal knife carry in this first part of the conversation. So to be able to carry a small pen knife, for example, that falls into the specifications of a legal carry knife, if you're 14 years old, then technically you can legally carry it. Obviously I'd speak to your parents first and let them know you're carrying it, let them know that you want to buy it, because they're going to have to buy it for you, and obviously you can practice skills in the garden. Folders can be a bit dangerous for the user, unless you're used to using them. There's a certain art to using small slip joint knives. They can fold back in on you if you don't use them correctly and slice your knuckles or fingers, especially when doing some bushcraft jobs or jobs out in the field where you're working with wood and such. You can have accidents with them. So I wouldn't advise them as an actual knife for using out in the field, and there are better knives around that you can carry that are stronger, more reliable for certain jobs. But recently I met Ben Alford. I went to the UK knife show and met quite a lot of people there, and to everybody out there who I did meet, it was really great to meet you, and yeah, thanks for coming and saying hello. But I did meet Ben Alford, and Ben Alford had some interesting knives. He had a really nice UK legal knife. It was called the Nomad, and it had a 3-inch blade, or just under, Scandi grind. I think it was 01 tool steel, very nice micarta handles, and it had an extended spine in terms of a friction folder, and they're perfectly legal to carry. So if you are going to get a blade that's a UK legal everyday carry blade, I would recommend something along those lines, because they're far more useful in the field. They're a lot stronger because of that extended spine, and they're just more cut out for heavier jobs, and they also look less threatening as well. They look more traditional, and I think that plays a big role in the perception of that policeman and woman, or that member of the public who sees that knife. And it's very rare in an environment like this to encounter any problems when carrying knives. I mean, I have my axe and knife right here beside me. There's nobody around for miles. I have nothing to worry about. But obviously if I lived in a town or a city and there was an issue there with knife crime, and I had a knife that looked more traditional and not so tactical and military like, then the perception, or my story of saying I'm a bushcrafter, I'm travelling somewhere to practice some carving skills with some friends, is obviously going to be more well received than if I carried some kind of tactical knife and was trying to spin the same story. So the way the knife look can play a big part of it as well. It's a bit like wearing camouflage and wearing plain clothes. It's the whole grey man theory. But that's the law on UK knife carry, legal carry in this country. So based upon what the legal carry is in the UK, a lot of the bushcraft knives that are sold out there aren't legal carry. This is a 4-inch fixed blade knife, completely illegal in some respects to carry out in the field with you day to day. This is not a legal carry knife, and even this was a folding knife with a locking mechanism, still completely illegal. Remember that locking knives are illegal as well, as the same as fixed blade knives. And when I say illegal, they're not legal carry for everyday use. But there is a method in which you can, or way in which you can carry them in the field perfectly legally. And it's just by having a genuine reason for requiring the knife for whatever you're doing. Maybe it's for work. Maybe you're a woodworker and you need a knife like that to do your job with. Maybe you're a fisherman. Maybe you're a hunter and you're going out and you need a knife to prepare game with. Maybe you're doing some hiking and backpacking across the Lake District, or over in Scotland for example, or in the Brecon Beacons, and you need a knife with you to process wood when you get to camp, and also to process food. You're practicing bushcraft and you're going out into the woodlands and you need a knife to process certain materials on you to be able to practice those skills. Obviously not all knives can be carried, and in the description of this video you'll find a list of banned knives in the UK, which I suggest you have a look at. But machetes, swords, different types of saws, axes, you can carry all these things if you have a genuine reason for carrying them. And it really is all about your intent over here in the UK. Intent is a word used a lot in the law, and your intent on what you intend to do is a big part of it. For example, if I'm carrying this axe and I'm walking through the woods and a police officer says to me, even though that's a totally unrealistic scenario, but a police officer says to me, "What have you got that axe for?" And I say, "Oh, it's just in case somebody jumps out and tries to attack me, I can protect myself." Immediately what I'm saying to that police officer is that I'm intending to use the axe as a weapon to defend myself with. And he'd have me down the station straight away, because this suddenly now becomes an offensive weapon. The thing about the law really over here is anything can be an offensive weapon. You know, a garden rake, a shovel, a golf ball in a sock, anything can be an offensive weapon. It's just what you intend to use it for that determines whether it's an offensive weapon or not. So this is why having a genuine reason behind why you're carrying these tools is really important. If you are out practicing bushcraft, if you are, it's part of your occupation, if you're a landscape gardener or a tree surgeon, or you're a wood carver, a green woodworker, you're going out and doing bushcraft skills, or whatever reason you have behind you hunting and fishing, these are all genuine reasons for carrying tools like this. But if you've got a large combat knife under the seat of your truck and it has a knuckle duster protector on it and the handle, and you get stopped for speeding and they have a look in the car and they find it, and you say, oh, it's for carving spoons, it's just not going to wash. And the reason you're carrying that is because it's a weapon, and you want to, you're intending to use it as one for self-defense, or whatever reason you're using it for. So your intent is a big reason behind the legal carry of these tools and the reason behind them. And my advice to you would be as simple as this: is if you're going out and you're going for a walk, you're walking the dog, just carry a friction folder, have it on a neck knife under your jacket. Really easy way of carrying a knife and not raising any eyebrows at all, and it's a good solid knife that you can use to practice skills when you're out just on a walk, for example. If you're out in open access land or open access woodland or a forest where other people can roam freely because they have a right to do so, keep your tools stowed away in your pack until you're off the beaten track and you're at a campsite or you've found a camp area, and then you can get your tools out, put them on your belt and use them. If you're on private land, you have permission to be there, to do some hunting, to do some fishing, to do some bushcraft skills, to camp out, then obviously you have very few concerns and you can wear these kind of tools on your belt quite freely because you have permission to be there and do this kind of things. But I hope this video's helped out. I hope it's provided you with some guidance about carrying these tools in the field, in the different kinds of environments you'll be in. And join me next week in episode 11, where we'll start actually having a look at some of the products out there, some of the knives that are available to you, and some of the ones you really want to get if you're just starting bushcraft and you're looking for a knife off the shelf to start using in the field to practice those skills. So thanks again for watching, guys. I'll see you next week, and take care, and see you very soon.